one of the members of the beautiful game who plays for my club, Manchester United, Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greats of the Premier League, one of the greats of world football. But he's about to do something crazy. Take us through that, JJ, within the transfer market.
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation out there that Atletico Madrid might emerge as, a potential landing point for Ronaldo. Manchester United, potentially looking to move on from him. Ronaldo himself not happy with the fact that, he won't get one last shot at potential Champions League success. Obviously we know that Jorge Mendes is an extremely influential agent, but even just the idea, I think, of a Real Madrid legend like Ronaldo, potentially, going back to Madrid, but not with Real, with their bitter rivals Atleti instead. I mean, it's all a bit mind-boggling, and in order to do so, it would also mean turning his back on Manchester United as well, a club where okay, maybe he's not got the same status as he does with Real Madrid fans and their fan base because of all the things he achieved with Real, but he's still very highly regarded at Old Trafford, despite the fact that he's not the player that he once was. So it would be huge and majorly surprising if Ronaldo did accept a move to Atletico Madrid. That's solely talking about the rivalry between Real and Atleti, not least the fact as well that Diego Simeone is still Atleti coach, and how on earth you fit Ronaldo into a Simeone tactical setup is beyond me.
Yeah, I woke up this morning thinking about this when this initial news broke out, and I just tried to picture Cristiano Ronaldo pressing for 90 minutes. I think the only time I see Cristiano pressing is in the gym.
For 90 minutes.
I'd love to see him do it for 90 seconds. For 90 seconds. The only time we see him pressing is doing bench presses in his gym on IG Live. Yes, I tune in for those. But this brings up another question, and the bigger question. Could this be one of the biggest kind of transfers that sparks controversy of all time, or where does this rate in transfers that spark controversy in world football?
I mean, I think it would be hugely controversial, but also at the same time, I think it would probably be a good indicator as to Cristiano Ronaldo's current star power. Because let's be honest, it's been on the wane for a while now. Juventus didn't work out the way that he wanted it to. United hasn't worked out the way that he wanted it to. And I'm not saying that he's become a no-namer in Europe, not at all. But, I think it's fair to say that Ronaldo's star is not shining as brightly as it used to. And I think that this would be more a reflection on him, than Real if he was to decide to join Atleti. Obviously, I think it would be more bitter if he had left Real and gone straight to Atleti. His kind of career path has been a bit diluted since then with his stint in Italy and then his return to England. And I think it actually would just show sort of the desperation, for Ronaldo to have that one last shot at glory. Whereas it would probably be more, I mean, let me think about the way that I phrase this. It would probably be more respectable if he actually managed to help sort United out and get them back into the Champions League.
Yeah, man, from your lips, JJ, to Mendez's ears and Ronaldo's ears as he's back, finally back in Manchester, hopefully for more than just a meeting with Ten Hag and the board. Hopefully gets back into preseason because the Premier League starts in only a couple weeks. So he's going to need to get up to speed wherever he goes. He's going to need to get back in shape and up to speed, which brings us to the fun part. We said this is going to be fun. What are the top 3 most controversial transfers in the history of the game? I've got my 3. You go first, JJ.
Well, I'll go with my first one, and there's no particular order to it. And I guess it was, partly down to, the era that I was growing up. And that was Luis Figo leaving Barca to join Real Madrid. That was, I remember the first, Barca Real Clasico after he made that move, the pig head and everything. That was pretty intense. I think the thing that I really find interesting about this debate is that there are a lot of divides that you just cannot cross. Some players do still cross them, but then there are other divides where, players sort of crossing between those two clubs is actually fairly commonplace. Think about the Milan rivalry between Inter and AC. It's actually crazy to think about how many players have, played for the two different clubs. And then you've got PSG Marseille, where former PSG players have gone and played for Marseille. There's been a bit less traffic sort of coming in the other direction. It's almost like a divide that's to certain clubs you cannot cross, you won't be accepted, which kind of makes the situation with Galtier quite interesting, given that he's a former Marseille player, and actually hails from the area as well. So for me, I think the first one on my list is definitely Figo leaving Barca for Real. I remember that, and everything that kind of blew up around it.
Yeah, I'll go 1 for 1. Let's go. You go 1, I'll go 1. You went number 1. I'm going to go number 1. This was before my time moving to the United States and really having access to watching the European game. I'm going to go Ligue 1 to the Scottish Premier League. One Mo Johnston, Celtic legend, and you know about the great divide between Celtic and their arch rival Rangers. Mo Johnston goes from Nantes, doing well in Ligue 1, comes back to Scotland and decides to play for who? None other than Rangers. And that was almost chaos. Glasgow almost burnt down to pieces. As you said, there's certain divides you don't cross. And very rarely have we seen players cross that divide. We've seen it in the past, but that was a big one. Mo Johnston scoring 52 goals for Celtic before moving around Europe, ultimately landing in France and coming back home for none other than Rangers. So that's my number 1. What about number 2 for you?
I mean, it's definitely right up there. I mean, I think my choices probably reflect the fact that I grew up, sort of in the Premier League heyday, because I remember moves like Sol Campbell, for example, leaving Spurs for Arsenal on a free transfer, and, sort of the vitriol, that rained down on him every time those teams met each other. So I think that would definitely be up there. I mean, there's a number of different, examples that I can give. I mean, a good one, perhaps, for you might be Van Persie when he left Arsenal to join United, and you've got Adebayor as well when he left Arsenal for City, winding the fans up. Yep. Nasri as well. There were quite a few around that time, so I'd say that they were probably a bit less bitter. But yeah, I'd definitely rate Campbell up there for me. I think it was probably the first really big, crossing of the divide that I saw, given, the fact that I was still living in England at the time. So seeing that sort of every week on Match of the Day, and being able to tune in and watch the matches live. And that was around about the time that Arsenal were really building themselves up as a force as well.
Well, I remember the World Cup in 1994, being here in the States. I just moved to the country a year before, and an Italian player who was so close to delivering the World Cup, Roberto Baggio. And I knew the Baggio when I came here as a Juventus player, had no clue at the time that he was the Prince of Florence. Florence boy, grew up there, came through there, star, almost led them to a league title, and they were pipped to it by none other than Juventus. And who does Baggio get transferred to? Juve. Juve beats Fiorentina in the 1990 UEFA Cup final. And then the following year, he makes his first return back to Juventus, and all hell broke loose. The damn bus almost got torched. And for me, that's recipe for being nominated as your number 2 most biggest betrayal of all time in the transfer window. What about you for number 3?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, different examples of players joining their clubs, like rival team, probably that predate both of us. I mean, you've got like Cruyff as well, leaving Ajax for Feyenoord. That was pretty unthinkable at the time. That's quite a historic one. I mean, another one sort of that I remember vividly, and fairly boring sticking, to Premier League rivalries, but Ashley Cole, given sort of the controversy that it created, and also, Cole was one of Chelsea's first big signings. So it wasn't just sort of a watershed moment in terms of, the fact that it brought tapping up to, to sort of mainstream attention, but also it was sort of the start of the moment where Arsenal's supremacy in the Premier League, started to be on the wane. Chelsea were on the rise. And you were seeing, one of the biggest stars from one London team swap it for, one of their London rivals. So that always sticks in my mind, along with Sol Campbell and Figo.
I'm going to stick Premier League and round it out with this one. I remember this Liverpool team from 2001, and a player, one of the unsung heroes of that team when they won the treble, Nicky Barmby. And Nicky Barmby used to play for none other than Everton before he went to Liverpool. And that was another just super controversial move. Everton fans, Evertonians still feel betrayed by Nicky Barmby. Nicky Barmby became a Liverpool great, helping them deliver that treble. And that is why he probably is not allowed to go to the blue half of Liverpool. Not for a while, maybe not forever. But that's what that feeling of betrayal gets you. That is an example, and that is why it is the world's game. People love this game. It is a family affair. It is a city affair, and the players have to suffer through it. So CR7, do not go to Atleti because that is not good. There's a lot that goes into that. Think that one through. Stay at United is what I'm saying. But we'll talk more about it throughout the summer. This has been Qué Golazo. I'm Michael Lahoud. He is Jonathan Johnson. JJ, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, always a pleasure sitting down and having a chat. And with all of that debate about controversial transfers, I'm just wondering when we're next going to see one. If there's possibly time to see one between now and the end of the transfer window. Like you, I'm not sure that Ronaldo to Atleti is necessarily going to be the best fit. It wouldn't be as emotionally taxing for me as it would be for you to see him leaving United again. But I don't think that there is any easy solution to what Ronaldo is seeking at this stage in his career. So sort of if we take what we assessed about the Barca situation from earlier in the podcast, sometimes you need to go, for a longer term approach, to get the success you crave, not necessarily just take the short term fix. And I think that Atleti themselves, if they do, end up trying to push for this deal and the signing of Ronaldo, they may well come to regret it in the next 18 months or so.